Listen, laugh, and learn with Sacha and Ish as they share their experiences, thoughts, and tips to build skills that are not so average and a career that's not so ordinary. This is the Not So Breakfast Show.
All right, welcome to the Not So Breakfast Show today, the podcast for leadership and career development. And today we are talking about joy. How do we make our jobs more joyful? In fact, how do we make any job joyful? Always makes me want to sing Joyful, Joyful from Sister Act. Whenever I hear that, Sister Act 2, in fact, back in the day. But speaking of joy and full of joy, Sacha, how the hell are you?
Yeah, I'm super full of joy today because I have raced home to get here and I was a little bit late. Let's face it, I'm always a little bit late. But I was so much less late than I thought I was going to be because I drove like a demon. And I was inspired by, I've seen the Barbie movie a couple of times, and watching it the second time, that bit where the mum just drives like an absolute mad thing and the daughter said, "Where'd you learn to drive like that?" So I was channeling her as I was like busting through the traffic. Kids, don't do this. Kids, always allow plenty of time to get to your appointments. But yes, I'm feeling the love and the joy today.
Oh, I love that. Well, I've seen the Barbie movie as well, so let's discuss that at the end because it was a banger of a movie. But
I've stopped saying okay now, and I just say Ken.
I can be Ken. All right, so we're talking about putting the joy into your role, or in fact, putting the joy into any role. And sometimes I think we have been in jobs for a long time, or we're in a job and something just changes. And it might be that you're just not enjoying it anymore. And I think we should start there maybe first of all, like just unpacking why that might have happened. Why all of a sudden maybe you've liked a job and now you don't. Or you were in a role and now you're not actually enjoying it anymore. So maybe we start that discussion of what could be triggering that, and then let's look at how we actually bring the joy back or just make our jobs more joyful. So what could be some of the things, Sash, that has changed about a role that maybe now you're not enjoying it as much?
Yes, let's do that. Just one step back, just like a warning thing that goes, there is a real risk as we talk about this, that we are like pro-work, pro-capitalism, just fix your attitude and be joyful. And the risk is that people feel gaslit like that. Like, am I not allowed to just feel like my job has lost meaning and joy? Am I listening to this podcast so you can tell me I just need to buck my ideas up? And it's not that, but it's a little bit that. And so I want to just be careful to go, it's completely legitimate. Like you say, there's often reasons why the life's been sucked out of a job, or why it's not joyous or joyful, or why you don't enjoy it anymore. And they're legitimate, and we've got to address those things as well. But we want to recognise when you go, I've actually been feeling this way for about 4 years now. And you go, well, that's not healthy. So, when you look at why some of those changes happen, I think one of the key things that can happen is you get good at what you're doing, and you would expect that makes your job easier. And it does, but it also makes your job more boring. So once the challenge has gone out, it can be less interesting. And you kind of get into this is just the same shit on a different day. So it loses that feeling of accomplishment that you get when you do something that's hard. I think that's one of the things that's real. You get better at it. I think a key one is that the people around you change.
Oh, yeah.
So you might have had really good team members that you enjoyed your relationship with them, and they've moved on either to other companies or other roles. And so the mojo or the vibe, when you just have a great connection with people at work. It's like when, you and I love working with you, and there's some people that we work with, and it's just, even when it's hard, it's easy.
Yeah.
And then you get put into other kind of working groups or program groups to try and deliver something, and you're in the room and you go, I care about the work, but it's just not as easy. These people don't like my jokes. I mean, clearly they have no sense of humour if they don't like my jokes. But yeah, the ease is gone a bit. I mean, have you ever experienced this yourself, where you kind of fall out of love with a job?
Yeah, I get into points where I just feel stale. or it just feels like that Groundhog Day. It's just the same thing over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes as you've developed in your career, you sometimes end up in the position where you get paid really well to do what you do. And as a result, it's really hard to even want to look at other options because you're good at it, you're getting paid really well.
Yeah.
But because the interest isn't there, the danger is then we start getting disengaged, we start getting frustrated, we start not stepping up, or we start getting distracted by other things that are away from our job that may affect our performance. In fact, I was having this conversation with a good friend of mine the other day who's in a very similar position. He's gone into a role, he's getting paid really, really well, he's got, pay rises, he's had all of this stuff, but the job itself, it's not that he doesn't like it, but he's just feeling like, is this it? Is this as good as it gets?
Yeah.
And now I'm actually being paid too well to walk away from this. And I'm always interested around, well, if you are getting paid well, maybe how do you make it the job that you want to be? Because you're obviously doing well. That's why they're paying you well.
One of the things that can happen in our careers as we get lucky enough to be well compensated from what we do is that companies use this technique called a golden handcuff, which is that they either give you a performance bonus or they give you some equity in the company, or they make it so good that it's impossible to leave. And that's such it's a little bit Crimea River, but it's real when you're in that and you feel like I'm not fulfilled, but how do I get out of this situation? So yeah, lots of different reasons why you can just kind of feel like I'm stuck and I don't want to keep working like this. So great to be able to identify that and take some action. Yeah.
So let's assume that you're in a role where you've either loved it at some point or there are certain things about it that you do like. And I think it's a very useful exercise to analyze where you're at and look at your role and go, what do I love and how do I do more of that? Because parts of the role that you are enjoying are part of the role. And there may be a way to dial up that and dial down the things that are causing you frustration or causing you to not enjoy it as much. So a little bit of an analysis is probably a good place to start.
And I think what can happen is if you do all the lists of here's the tasks I love, here's the tasks I don't enjoy, here's the things that really frustrate me, you separate them out. And you'll see the picture really clearly where you go, actually, there's a bunch of that I can delegate, legitimately delegate, not just by giving people on my team shit jobs to do, but it can grow them and they can pick it up and it would be good for them and good for you. Then there's an element that is just suck it up. Every job's got some stuff in it that you don't want to do. That's kind of the price of being human on this earth. Do we all get to do what we want to do all day, every day? No. And a little bit of routine or discipline or tasks that are unenjoyable, I think that's important to us. But if the balance is wrong, if you go, well, this once a month I get to do this one thing and that keeps me in it, then that ought to be a wake-up call to say, unless you refresh and change your approach, you're going to end up being in the wrong place.
Yeah.
We'll be right back.
If there was one skill that could double your income, advance your career, and increase your ability to influence, it is the skill of presenting. Whether it's on stage, in the boardroom, or at a job interview, the 30-minute presenter program will help take you to the next level. So check out our Instagram page, click the link in the bio, and get started on the 30-minute presenter program. And that can be, if you are in the role that you do want to work at for this place, then it's what can you add to your job then? So if you can't maybe dial up it any more than you can, so you've dialed it up to the max of the things you enjoy, but to your point, you've now got these things that you can't let go of. Maybe you can delegate them. But what else could you actually maybe add to the role or change the view of the role that the company may be completely invested in? And I've just done that recently, even within my own role. I've looked at leaning into an aspect of the role that the business has been wanting me to be focusing on. And I'm absolutely passionate about that. So being able to pivot, to redirect, to lean into that has given me, a lot more enjoyment in what I'm doing and starting to stretch my learning again and develop me. And then as a result, you end up starting to fall back in love with the job as opposed to out of love with it.
Yeah. I think people really underestimate how much scope there is within any role to do things that add value, that bring the whole thing to life. So I think, for example, of a whole lot of the kids, the young, fantastic young people that work in our coffee shops, the opportunity for them to get involved in filming and art direction and content creation for us is unlimited. And I don't know if they don't, because we just don't advertise and go, oh, here's our job called 5 hours a week of making great content, of coffee shop content. Here's the shop being opened. Here's a beautiful espresso shot being extracted. We don't make that a job, so it doesn't have people don't know to start, or if there's just sort of a lack of initiative to start. Because if somebody came to me and said, look, here's some little reels I've made, are you guys interested in those? I'm like, yes, and we'll pay, and wicked, but it's not enough of a role that I'm ever going to advertise it and make it official.
It's also in that ability to recognize that if you have got something to think I can add some value, and you do a little bit of work in that you don't drop your base role until you've had permission to drop your base role. Because I think it's the common mistake where it's like, oh, I'm going to go work on this because it will make it more interesting for me. But you're KPI'd and all your performance is over here. So yes, if you're going to lean into something, do some more work, do some more hours, see if you can get it to pay off, but don't drop the base job and take your foot off the accelerator of that, because I can tell you what, that is a painful ride.
I also really like the idea of saying, if nothing changed in your job, so there's no scope, no people are changing, the assholes you work with are still going to be there, you don't get any say, there's no more money, nothing is going to change for the next 6 months. It's exactly as it is now. What could you do differently to make it more interesting, more energizing, and more joyful for you? And I reckon there's a ton of things that we can do to reinvigorate ourselves while we are doing what could be quite a mundane job, or a job that drives us nuts. So just some immediate things that have popped into my mind as I've been thinking about this. One of my favourite jobs ever was when I worked in a supermarket after school. I just loved the who's coming in today, who are you going to see. We used to get these little strips that would be printed out that said, this is how fast you're scanning the products. So X products per minute. And I just used to go, I'm going to smash my products per minute. And so before I'd start, customers would come in and they'd just put their groceries like higgledy-piggledy all over the conveyor. I'd be like, oh, no. Before we begin, I'm just going to take the liberty of rearranging before I start scanning. And I'm sure that customers were going, could you hurry up and serve me? What they didn't know was the little steps that I took to prepare the groceries on the conveyor belt meant that I then smashed through it and got my scanned items per minute up. I was 15, I was still at school, but I thought, if I don't give myself something more interesting here, I'm going to go nuts doing this repetitive task. There's so many opportunities to take delight in excellent execution of the smallest things that actually elevate our experience at work.
I love that speed, that race, that kind of competition element to things. And we've talked about this in a podcast we did ages ago around the 5 C's that you want to have. And one of them was someone to compete against. You know, who's at work that you could have a friendly rivalry with, or a bit of competition to see who can kind of get the best idea or the best performance. And within that role that you had to do anyway, suddenly you're competing against someone, you were setting up some sort of competition. It's just another way to add a little bit of interest. And I can just imagine everyone in your line, though, you missed about 20 items and they're in the bag, but it's just like,
yeah.
time, I've scanned everything, out, get out.
So if you have people that you interact with, your opportunity is to be endlessly interested by being curious about the people, if it's general public, that you are meeting all the time. So I've had a couple of taxi drivers that have been incredible in terms of the level of service that they offer and the interest that they show in me as a passenger and how interesting that is. I've been in bathrooms where the bathroom attendants have just been amazing in terms of the service that they've provided. And I love reading those articles about people who, I don't know, they work as cleaners or they do jobs that you think, man, how does that even work? I remember I went through that phase where I was reading everything that had ever been written about people that worked in funeral homes. So there's quite a few good working books about people who've either worked in funeral homes or as funeral directors, or a woman who worked in a crematorium, and it was just endlessly fascinating how she, in what's quite a dark, or can be quite a dark job, had actually found a way to connect with people and for it to did it bring her joy? Yeah, she had immense job satisfaction. And maybe it's not joy that you're after, but just that sense of, today was a good day. I did good work today. I met good people. Even if I was doing things that might seem meaningless. Oh, do you know the most meaningless thing but interesting I saw the other day that's to do with jobs?
What?
The people who made the chain mail for the Lord of the Rings costumes. You have to, everybody, you have to find that clip online. Imagine it's like tiny metal circles and they literally hook them onto each other. They did it in this basement somewhere in Wellington for 3 years.
Oh,
the two guys sitting opposite each other, and you can see this video of them. They age over the 3 years. They go slightly mental. They have hostages. They take soft toys and kidnap them. It's crazy, but a completely repetitive job. They got blisters on the end of their fingers, and yet these guys were a critical part of one of the most powerful and important movie trilogies that our generation has seen. And so that purpose is kind of what kept them going. So I think if they can find some meaning and some satisfaction from doing the same thing for 3 years, well, surely we can find something in our own jobs, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely. Another one that you might want to have a look at is it actually your job that's changed, or is it the fact that you're just not happy in general and you're kind of blaming your job for the situation, but there's just a whole lot of other stuff going on? Because, you can build joy into other parts of your life, having the hobby or volunteering or doing things that fills your cup, so that when you go into your role, that it's not as draining because you're not starting it empty. And I think so often we go in on a Monday morning and we're already at empty. So suddenly the one thing that normally wouldn't tip us over, it's like you're just scraping the bottom of the glass because there's nothing in there, nothing to give. And you're already over it before the week's begun.
I feel like we're a bit we're both a bit baby boomer, Gen X, kind of going, it's called work for a reason. You're not supposed to love it. We're kind of not saying that. We're saying that within every situation, there's some opportunities to give, to serve others, and also to kind of check in with yourself. But I really like this idea that not all of us are going to find all of our meaning in our jobs.
Yes.
And sometimes we just got to do the do at work. So if you look at your week and say, what does a perfect week look like for me? It's going to have a movie. It's going to have some exercise time. It's going to have some time with my friends. And if you're building a perfect life around your work and then you still find that work's a problem, you go, okay, I'm going to do something about this. But if you've just got that general disquiet and unease with everything in your life, then it's not fair to channel that all at your workmates and at your boss and at your clients.
Yeah, I love that. Build the joy into all aspects of your life, not just try and focus on fixing my crummy job. It may be that your crummy job's fine. You just got the wrong perspective. You've got no energy for it because you're out partying till 3 a.m. on Monday before you went to work at 9.
And that's the same with relationships, right? If you are looking for your significant other or the person that you're in a relationship with to be the source of all things to you all of the time, then I think you're on a hiding to nothing. And it's really easy to channel your frustrations about what that person doesn't do for you, or the thing they're not interested in, or the hobby they want to continue with even though you don't want them to. And you can get really bitter and twisty when in actual fact, my favourite thing, within my own marriage is when Chris goes to golf. My favourite thing sounds harsh. What I mean is I love that he's found a sport that he enjoys. And I want him to get as much of that sport that he enjoys as he possibly can. And I'm never going to be a person that goes, oh, why don't you stay home with me? Because he's outside. He's with his mates. He's walking. He's getting some exercise. And yay! Amazing. Incredible. More of that, please. Not just because it gets him out of the house for 5 hours on a Sunday.
You could also set up some little wee sort of routines to add in throughout your day. Like when you are starting your day, can you start your day in a way that, sets you up well? So it's not yelling at the kids, dropping them off, fighting through traffic late, and then just running in and your boss is going, where the hell have you been? Now, sometimes that's the reality of life, but could being a little bit more organised actually make it a little bit less stress? Or could you have a slightly later start on some days so you don't have to do the traffic commute? I mean, for me, I've made peace with the commute because I just love consuming podcasts. Like I actually see it now as an opportunity to learn and upskill because I struggle to sit down and read because my attention's being stolen from me and reading's not my favorite thing, but listening to stuff is awesome. So even now, like if I'm probably the worst person to be behind in traffic because I let everybody in. If anyone wants to come in, I'm slowing down, I'm letting them in. I'm going to try to get to work as relaxed as possible, doing a little bit of good for the world, making that person who couldn't get out of their driveway have a good day. But all of those little things, that change in perspective is such a powerful thing for setting you up to maybe bring a little bit more joy into the office, into your life, into other people.
I love doing that thing at night where I go, what's one thing I can do now that'll make tomorrow better? And if I have that thought, I go and do that thing. So if it's that I prepare my clothes for the next day, or if it's that I put my running shoes at the front door, if it's that I check that the washing's where it needs to be, if it's that I empty the dishwasher, or just one thing that will make tomorrow better. And what will sometimes happen is I'll have that thought 2 or 3 times in an evening, and I'll end up doing 3 things. Amazing. And I don't beat myself up if I forget it. Sometimes I go to bed and I'll be lying in bed and I'll go, I didn't even take my makeup off, let alone do that one thing that needs to. And that's okay.
I wonder who fed the kids tonight.
Yeah. Where are the kids? We don't have to be regimented about this stuff, but if we can build some disciplines, then I think it's really helpful.
You may also want to just have a look at, if you have got a few tasks that are harder to do than others, can you just do them earlier in the week? So it's about optimizing your day or optimizing your week or optimizing your job. So the moment you've got the thing that you're putting off and you kind of dread it, so it's part of your job, you just have to get it done, but you put it off till Friday, then the whole week you're just dreading Friday, when Friday should be the best part of your week because it's the end of your week. So maybe just having it as one of the first things that you tick off on a Monday and it's done. If you've got to give feedback back to someone or you've got to, crunch those numbers, let's get that done early.
And what you'll also end up with, I find, if you leave things till Friday, is as you're doing it, you go, no one's going to read this today anyway. I'll just do it on Monday. And then you spend the whole weekend going, I still haven't done that thing that I was supposed to do last week. And you just have this perpetuating lack of deadline fulfillment. It's because you're a dick. And I may or may not be speaking directly to myself.
Yeah. Because some people's jobs are the same every day, right?
Yes.
It's the same day. You just have maybe more annoying or less annoying people to deal with. But fundamentally, you're sort of 8 till 5:30 or whatever your shift is. It's pretty much the same. And then there are people that can craft their job, craft their week, approach it with a lot of autonomy. And that's really what we're talking to here, is how do you use a role like that, or if you have got the privilege to have a role like that, how do you then craft it in a way that serves you, that serves your business, that serves the results, but also makes it much easier? Because I think sometimes we're just our own worst enemy, and we set ourselves up to not enjoy it because of the way that we don't plan, that we don't pause, that we don't stop and think, that we just end up just going, get to the end of the week completely burnt out. And I find that there's a few salespeople that do that, right? They kind of relax into their month, and then suddenly it gets to the end of the month and their targets are coming up, and then they just have to go hell for leather in those last 4 days to get it over the line. And then they're exhausted when they go into the next month.
Which is why they start the next month slowly.
Exactly.
And I do think that there are people whose jobs are structured. So, say, for example, teachers. If you're a secondary teacher, you've got some structures and places that you have to be. And I think one of the risks for people in those types of environments is that with their non-structured time, it's such a relief to not have to be in front of the classroom that they go, it's just kind of it's a soup. And so if they add it up actually across the day, how much time they have got, that's their own to choose what they do with. It's actually more than they think. And I think most of us, even within structure, have some choices about how we can bring more order, which brings more joy. It's such a paradox, this idea that the more structure and discipline you have, the more free and spontaneous you can be. It's that just messes with your head, right? How can that be true? And it's because if you don't know when you're going to mow the lawn, you can't ever say yes to something spontaneous because you might be mowing the lawn that day. Whereas if you know that I tend to mow the lawn on a Wednesday, someone invites you for a beer on Thursday, you go, great, I got nothing on because I don't mow the lawn. I don't know why I said that. I'm trying to appeal to a masculine audience. Hey guys.
I have my people do that, and my robots do that. All right, so really what we've been talking about here is how to bring the joy is, first of all, maybe analyze exactly what's going on. Is it work or is it something else? That could be a thing. Is it that we're not showing up in our best energy and we're just getting drained? Is that a thing? Is there a way to look and do a bit of an audit in our job? What do we love? And how do we dial that up? Is there other things that we could actually lean into or scope that we could add to our role that it makes it more creative and rather than looking at other stuff? Could we just have some simple routines around the way we start, things we do during the day or the way that we end our day? And also, can we just plan in joyful moments, things that we love to do, that we can put them in amongst our week, amongst our day, things that we can look forward to, both in a work situation, but also in a life situation, that just helps us be more joyful, glass half full, see the positive side, and enjoy the ride.
And do you know what I've never been brave enough to do? What if you do all of that analysis, you do all of that stuff, and you come to the conclusion that your job is still rubbish? Please, please, please be a person that goes out with a bang, that does one of those awesome resignations where it's just like, screw you, and you like film it, and it's incredible, and it goes viral, and you can never work in New Zealand again. But that's not the point. Like, if you're going to go out with a bang, go out with a bang. Burn those bridges and film it so we can all laugh and enjoy it. That's joy.
I think we should now put in like a legal line.
Disclaimer.
It's the Not So Breakfast Show. It does not condone or recommend big bang exits from the role, but if you do, tag us in.
The legal advice is don't do this. The personal request is if you do, film it.
So I got to go the other day. Joe was like, let's go to Barbie. I'm like, yeah, let's do it. So we jumped online Sunday afternoon, went to try and find a movie theatre that had Barbie on. Every movie theatre is booked. Everyone. We're after 3 tickets. My oldest girl had already seen it, so it was me and Joe and Emma. And so I was like, try Whangaparoa. try ride out like out of town. So we found...
Try Cape Reinga.
Yeah.
Whangare.
So we ended up finding a Hoyts movie theatre, and we managed to get in, and we drove all the way out there. It's about 50 minutes to get out there, but it was excellent. It was such a good movie. I was quite surprised at the age range, right from grandparents taking younger kids and everything, but there was definitely something in there for everybody, but definitely love to hear your take on it, Sash.
I think something in there for everyone. I've seen it twice now, and I really enjoyed it the second time because I didn't have to worry about the plot. I knew what was happening, and so I could just enjoy Ryan Gosling's abs on a whole new level. I watched the dance choreography more closely. I enjoyed it when they introduced the character as Sacha again. Because, I just never hear my name in movies, so... Yeah. So, spoiler, there's a Sacha in the movie. I loved it. Like we said, it's a little bit preachy, but, we could do with some good, solid feminist preaching. So, yes, go Barbie. And Margot Robbie, I don't like objectifying people. I could look at her all day. She's just gorgeous. Imagine if she turned up at your house and said, "Hi, I just wanted to come for dinner." I would say, "Come in, stay, lock the doors."
Mow my lawns.
Yeah. She's awesome.
Even though it has that really strong feminist undertone, and rightfully so, it totally should, I think that they positioned it really well against men. Like, I didn't sit there as a man in the movie thinking, oh man, men are dicks.
You didn't feel really threatened?
No, I didn't, but I got it. There was definitely some moments there where I was like, oh, wait, yeah, just the way that they were referencing. And I was kind of, man, there is a responsibility on men.
When people say, oh, who knew that Barbie would sell out? We didn't know that the movie would be great. But I could have told you that if you make content that women consume and want to watch, it's often really great for men. Right? So you didn't have to go to the Barbie movie going, I wonder how much hideous violence I'm going to have to absorb because you don't like that stuff. And that doesn't make you less of a man or a wuss. Just means I don't want my movies to have that stuff in it. So there's lots of good arguments that say when we make things better for the least of us, we actually make things better for all of us. Patriarchy hurts men as well as it hurts women. And in New Zealand, we've just had the largest football attendance ever, male or female, for the FIFA Women's World Cup that's here. I went on Tuesday night to a game between Sweden and Argentina in my town of Hamilton, in my city. 17,000 people. It was freezing. It was about 2 degrees. I have never been so cold at a match, and the stadium was packed. Going to the quarterfinal next week. It's going to be incredible. And go girls. Go girls.